Hello, everyone. Thank you for your patience. Musty Hobbit here, and tonight the Cartridge Club is going to be doing our recap episode for E3 2019. I've had quite the year so far. This has been quite the show. I have a couple of guests with us here tonight. One of them is my co-host from the CC Prime podcast, and that is Ryan. Ryan, it's good to see you.
Hello, good to see you, Musty.
Yes. And then we also have mainstay for the club and Star Wars fanatic, Fitnat. Hello, Fitnat. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
I hope you guys are pleased with your introductions. And thank you to those who have taken the time to pop in for chat. We have some things planned for us tonight. We are going to be going through some of the big highlights for us throughout all of E3. Now, we are not, I will say up front, we are not going to be talking about every single game, and we're not going to be able to cover every single show. We'll make a point of hitting as much as we can. If there's things that you are particularly pleased with, you want us to talk about, let us know. We are monitoring the chat, and we're willing to talk about things that you are excited for as well. I should point out, we did have one other guest who had to back out in the last minute. So Josh, we miss you. We wish you were here. He has some family things that he is dealing with that are card trouble stuff. So everything's okay. Do not worry about that. But yeah, that's why we got off to a little bit of a late start. But anyways, let's start things off. One of the other things we're going to be doing throughout the night is revealing our upcoming schedule for Cartridge Club Prime for the first half of Season 7, which starts in September. And so we have a few games on tap. We'll be announcing 6 games in total. We'll start off with doing 2 right now. What do you guys think? Sound like a good plan?
Let's do it.
Start off. Let's do this. So in September, we are going to be kicking off. I hope there's no ad on this. Of course, there's an ad before I play the music. Technical issues. There we go.
Pause for edit.
Pause for edit. Hope this picks up. So one of the things that we've sort of missed out on to this point for the club has been a specific genre that usually caters itself very, very well to PCs. And so we are actually going to be playing a title that premiered on the PC, and it is an RTS. In September, we are going to be playing the original StarCraft. And this is available a couple of different ways. The original version itself is free to download on Blizzard. So yes, we are playing StarCraft in September. There is also a remastered version, which is fairly cost-effective. And then if you're crazy like Ryan, there's a version on the Nintendo 64 as well. There is a campaign. There is multiplayer. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of that out of us. I know I'm looking forward to streaming that, because that can be a lot of fun. But yeah, we should totally have a blast in September playing StarCraft. So, Ryan, are you excited to play a PC game?
I'm excited to play an N64 game.
There you go. Yes, so StarCraft 64 is on there. I believe it's the same campaign. I may be mistaken, but yeah, should be a good time. Which brings us to October. In October, we tend to like to gravitate toward games that are a little bit on the spooky side. Now, we are the Cartridge Club. So we're going to play something that is so fitting for October on the NES. And that is going to be Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. It's going to be October's game of the month. I know this will be a first time for me, Ryan. I know you're working on playing through that right now.
Correct. I've never been really good at the Castlevania games growing up, and it's been something I've been working on over the years, going through the franchise. So I'm very excited for October's game of the month.
Yeah, that's great. Now that is available again on the NES. It is part of the Castlevania collection, and so if you have recently picked that up on, is that on every console? All of your modern consoles, then you can play along with us there as well. So really looking forward to this. And again, that is September StarCraft, October Castlevania 3. So Yes, so we can, for those of you who want save states, there's a way to do it. Not Ryan, though. Ryan's a perfectionist. Purist. There we go. So that's going to be, we'll again come back to give you November and December in a little bit here, but let's get into this discussion because this E3 was a strange one for me personally because I feel like my hype levels, like I didn't get as wrapped up in it going into the whole thing. I don't know, Ryan, Fitnet, did either of you was the hype train rolling for you, or was this kind of like my situation was a little more muted?
I don't know if you feel the same way about this, Musty, but it felt like E3 came up quick this year. It came out of nowhere, and maybe it was already just a little deflating going in with no PlayStation announcement. I know I'm a giant PlayStation fan, so maybe that is something. It's a little bit of a kick knowing going in that you're going to have less going into this one, but. Yeah, I agree with you. The hype wasn't there. There was not much, going into it. Like generally in other E3 conferences, they're like, I just want to see this game. Like a list of games that you might want to come from, and it seems like either we might have knew what was coming already, or what. But I don't know. It was one of those ones where the expectations were a little bit lower this year for me, as opposed to years in the past. So.
Yeah, I get the feeling that companies are starting to realize what E3 is turning into, and there's a bunch who are like, let's get our news out first. Let's put it out before E3 so that we can at least have our day in the sun before we get overshadowed by all this stuff. And there was a lot of stuff to talk about, although not all of it necessarily fell into our own perspective wheelhouses. But before we move into our first discussion, Fitnat, how about you? Like, do you get the E3 train? Does that happen for you?
Sometimes it happens. It just kind of depends on my mood going into it usually. But I kind of agree. Like I didn't have like a ton of hype going in, but like there was a lot of cool stuff. It's just nothing like made me just go, holy crap, that's amazing. Like there was just a lot of really cool things, but there was so much of it. It's just kind of like, oh, the whole thing is cool, but there's not like a ton of like wow moments for me. Like I was happier for like other people than I was for things for myself. Like because there was a lot of stuff that I know a lot of people love that just aren't for me. But like it was still cool for me seeing all that stuff.
Yeah, I will say in some of the discussions that I've been having with others who have been paying attention to E3, there's a lot more of the I'm happy that people are getting what they've wanted. And so we did see a fair amount of that throughout the couple days of the press conferences, which is what we're going to focus on primarily. Now, one of the companies that doesn't do a formal E3 presentation anymore, they kind of do their own side project, is EA. Everyone can collectively boo now if you want. But oh, there you go. Okay. But one thing that they had that a lot of people have been looking forward to was Respawn's Star Wars game. And so we got to see some trailers and gameplay for Jedi Fallen Order. Fitnat, you are the expert, so I want to kick to you and get your thoughts on what you saw.
That game looks really good. Like it's just kind of like standard, but there's a lot of really cool things in it. I appreciate that they're kind of like, I know, like it's like Dark Souls. That's like every other video game now. But like I appreciate like not so much in difficulty that they're picking up on like that kind of style of melee combat. Same with like God of War, and like I've heard comparisons to it with like Arkham as well, but without the counter. So maybe it's kind of closer to Spider-Man in some ways. But yeah, I appreciate just kind of the more deliberate combat and all the things they mentioned. I think a lot of the small details are cool, like pulling the rope down with the just with the force, and what was the other one? Using the lightsaber as an actual light source to light the area you walk through. I don't know if I've seen that before. It's such a small thing, but it's great. Like all the small details are great in that. I'm tired of seeing Saw Gerrera and everything, but other than that, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So what do you think about it? Like fitting in with like, is this a canon story?
Yes,
it is canon. Okay.
I imagine like gameplay wise, it's like the story is canon, but some of your decisions may not be, or like ancillary dialogue. like the stormtroopers making a high ground joke. That may not necessarily be canon.
Oh, that was
but,
awesome, though.
Yeah.
That moment I wrote that down. So I was just like, that's so smart.
Yeah, but like the general story.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is Forrest Whitaker playing the same character as he did in Rogue One?
Yes.
He did?
Yeah. Like I'm not 100% sure he's doing the voice. I would assume so. But yeah, that's his character.
Gotcha.
I think it'd be really weird for them to do his like body capture but not have him do the voice. Although the voice seemed very different from Rogue One, possibly in that he's a more like downtrodden or beaten down individual by that point.
Yeah, maybe. I can actually speak on that a little bit. Fun fact, he first appeared in the Clone Wars cartoon and was kind of trained a little bit with Anakin in places. Like it was just part of a mission that Anakin was sent on. But like he's much younger in that, so it's like you see him kind of age over time. Like they kind of had to fill that in after Forrest Whitaker was cast. But you see him again later in a couple episodes of Rebels, and like you just like his voice gets raspier and he gets a little crazier. Like he was exposed to this like chemical on Geonosis and like other like random details, but like he basically just becomes more undone as the timeline progresses. So this is earlier on than that. So he's like a little more together in this one.
Gotcha. Yeah, he seemed to be less like
crazy
eye darting. Yeah, for sure. And yes, we do have confirmation. Polygon confirming that he is voicing the character there. I don't recognize the lead. I have no idea who that individual is or who the actor is who's playing him, but
he's on the show Shameless, and he played the Joker on the
Gotham
show.
Joker.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
New character as far as canon as far as I'm aware.
Sure. No, that's cool. I got a lot of Force Unleashed vibes out of this initial trailer dump that they put out there. However, there's an interesting parallel, or not even a parallel. There's an interesting divergence between the two. In the Force Unleashed reveal, you were Vader and you were taking out. You were on Kashyyyk taking out Wookiees. In this trailer, you are
stormtroopers.
What's that? Oh, and other stormtroopers. Yes, that's true. In this one, you are tasked with going and freeing Wookiees. Was that on Kashyyyk as well?
I believe so. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
I am not 100% sure if that's on Kashyyyk or not. The demo. Now that you mentioned it, I never really thought about it.
It's very woodsy, so I mean, like I feel like it could have been, but until he got like into the inside of the place, but it wasn't.
Yeah, but the Empire just uses Wookiees as slaves in general, so that could be in multiple places.
Very, very good point. But yeah, so I just found it very interesting that in that one it's the other side of the coin, in an entirely different time, in an entirely different area. Well, same planet, but different things and situations going on. The one moment that I really dug from this was the moment where, because one of the powers that they showed off was that you can freeze not freeze, but like slow time on an object or a person or something. And at one point, he slows time on a blaster bolt coming out of a stormtrooper's rifle. Force pulls the stormtrooper toward him, and then puts the stormtrooper in front of the bolt, and then lets the bolt kill the stormtrooper. And I just like, that was really cool to see. And not knowing that it was coming, I was just like, what?
Kind of pulled the Kylo Ren.
Yeah.
Cool. Yes.
That's one of my... Yeah, and Ben mentions that in the chat too, the Kylo Ren power. But that's actually one of my few problems, or I should say nitpicks with it. Because I don't like it when it's just like, here's a specific character's power on a new character just for gameplay reasons. Like, here's this rare power you've never seen before, and now you can throw it around as much as you want, even though it makes no sense because no one else has used it since then.
I'll use it a lot.
Yeah, no, I know it's for gameplay reasons, but like I kind of like just, Kylo Ren's power is popular. Let's plop that on this character in a completely other timeline, or not timeline, but era. That bugs me a little bit. I'll get over it, but I did want to note that just kind of irked me a little bit.
Well, see, maybe he doesn't get to pass it along, or maybe I don't know. Maybe there's some reason why that doesn't exist anymore.
There's a lot of canon inconsistencies as far as powers carrying over, but that's just due to things coming out later and adding stuff in. But like, it's a nitpick. It's just me. It's fine, but it's gonna bug me a little bit.
Fair enough.
Actually, I do want to note on the force powers that apparently in the demo, the person that playing it had unlimited abilities, and that was kind of like a more high-end player, and they had to do several attempts to get that run. So the actual game is going to be more difficult, but there are multiple difficulty levels. Like, there's a more story level. Yeah, I see you, Sean. I have a nitpick. So what? Anyway, there's an easier difficulty if you want to just go story, and there's a harder one if you want like the more difficult challenge of it. So you have options.
Did they confirm if powers like are just like on cooldowns? Is it like a time, like is the force
there's a force
timer
meter.
based?
There's a force meter. I don't know if there's cooldowns, but yeah, it's like you can't just toss it out as much as you want. There is not unlimited.
Like you have to pick up midichlorians, and then suddenly you can do things more again. Is that?
I would be more into that than most people, I'm sure, but no midichlorians in this one that I'm aware of.
Fair enough. We shall see. Maybe there'll be a factory for them or something.
I am honestly, now that you mentioned, I'm honestly surprised that's never been a pickup in a video game before. Even though it would make no sense, but I'm surprised like some random company didn't just throw it in.
Yeah. Awesome. Ryan, any other last thoughts on Jedi Fallen Order and really the EA conference as a whole?
I tuned out after it because I don't need to see Madden or FIFA. Not to bring it down, but I came strictly for Star Wars, and what I saw was cool. So after that, on to the next.
Yeah, they led with that, which I think was a smart move on their part. But their schedule was very laid out. They basically gave everything like 30-minute time period, and then they filled as much of that 30 minutes as possible. They showed some stuff for Apex. There is a new legend coming, and a gun that was present in Titanfall 2 that's coming to that as well. So if you're into Apex, there's tons of stuff coming down the road there. But yeah, your sort of standard offerings, FIFA 20, Madden 20, and the like. So things are looking pretty run-of-the-mill for EA, and that's really what they brought to the table there. Oh, they showed some Battlefield.
It's always hard to keep those titles.
Brand confusion.
Like, even as like the big Star Wars guy, I freaking mix those up all the time. But I also want to make an honorable mention to the Lego Star Wars saga, like the Skywalker saga. They're doing all 9 movies again. That's awesome. Cool to see like what they do like now that the games have been fleshed out so much since the original ones. So just want to get a mention in that. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, effectively getting a remaster of the original, the first 2 games that came out, right?
Yeah, but like they're remaking them. They're doing it like over again. It's kind of like if you saw the second Lego Indiana Jones, they did all the movies again, but like the levels were different, the presentation was different, stuff like that.
Yeah. But
like the original ones were in like that old pantomime style, and now they've got like the voice work and the more scripted, like comedic bits, like since Lego Batman 2. So it'll be cool to see what they do in that more modern sense. I like the trailer for it.
Yeah, that was good. And that trailer showed during the Microsoft conference, which had enough games on there that there's no way that we can cover all of it. We've sort of highlighted some of the important pieces for us. If there's stuff from the Microsoft conference that you were particularly interested in or want to hear us talk about, let us know in chat, and we can talk about that as well. But on the theme of Legos, the other Lego thing from that press conference was we didn't get. Normally, the Microsoft press conference rolls out a car. We got a car, but it was not a car. It was made entire. It was a McLaren. The McLaren entirely made out of Legos. I said
it may have been drivable, but I'm not sure that.
I don't think it was drivable.
I think that may have been an inside Xbox joke. Not an inside joke from Xbox, a joke from inside Xbox.
There you go. But yeah, so Forza Horizon 4 is getting Lego Lego Movie DLC, effectively.
Speed Champions.
Speed Champions. So if you recall from Forza Horizon 3, they did the Hot Wheels expansion, which had the orange tracks and all the like loop-de-loops and things like that. This is adding an entirely new like region of the world that is Lego World. And I thought the trailer was really well done. I liked the music, and I thought it was appropriate for the setting, and they played the Everything is Awesome. I really liked it. It's kind of makes me want to download that off of Game Pass. But Fitnet, you said you had some thoughts on that as well.
A little bit, like just like a lowercase note was like I have nostalgia for like those old Lego racer games that were on the N64 and PS1 and all that. So that just like hit that button exactly for me. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that ends up being, like in terms of what you can do, like if you can build your brick car like piece by piece, like how far they go with it. I know you'll get like more elaborate kind of loop-de-loop stages. I think they actually built all the levels in the digital Lego like builder application that they have, like the digital like kind of, I don't know what they call it, but like you can just build all your Lego stuff, but you have to place it brick by brick, and they had to do it for 4 different seasons for every map. So that's insane.
That is pretty cool.
That's a lot of work. Dedication.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping there's one moment where the car drives by and they do like the slow turn.
Yeah, the Luigi death stare, but Lego.
Yeah, it was totally a Luigi death stare. But like they didn't go with some like goofy expression. It just looked like a Lego figure staring at him, which I think was a smart move, because they could have done some like goofy like tongue wagging thing. But yeah, that was pretty cool. I'm excited for that. I showed it to my son, and he's like way on board with it. I'm like, sure.
It is kind of the most subdued version of the Lego thing they could have done. So I'm glad they didn't like overplay it with like the tongue wagging stuff you were mentioning.
Yeah. So, of course, as I mentioned, Forza Horizon 4 is on Game Pass, and a lot of the talk for this presentation was the number of games that are coming to Game Pass day one, and of the 60 games they showed in the presentation, 34 of them in total are coming to Game Pass. But they sweetened the pot a little bit by releasing their combo package now, which is Game Pass Ultimate. And I'm super excited for this, and I have already converted my membership. And this is something that people are trying to figure out. Let me just quickly talk about what you should do if you are even considering this, or if you have Gold or Game Pass right now. Because right now they are offering a deal to convert all of that over to Game Pass Ultimate for $1. So what I would like to encourage people to do. This is what I did. I had a nice pile of trade goods that was tired of hauling around. Took it into the shop, and then managed to get enough credit to cover one year of gold, and then I also then covered a portion of a second year of gold. So threw both of those in there, and then converted it to Game Pass Ultimate. I am set with Game Pass Ultimate, which is both Gold and Game Pass for PC, which was another thing that they announced is now in beta until October of 2021, which was a steal. Very happy.
I wanted to also disclaimer this by saying there's a 3-year limit on this too. You can't go past 3 years.
Yes.
This deal, so.
But it will convert. The conversion portion takes every month that you have of Game Pass and every month that you have of Gold, and adds and makes that an individual month of Ultimate. So if you had 3 months and a year, you get 15 months for $1. Do it. It's so worth it. Best deal out there. And you're going to get every big title that Microsoft is going to bring out to Game Pass, which included a whole bunch of like indie titles as well. So Ryan, I want to throw down here to you. There was one that seemed to pique your interest based on a very long-standing horror franchise. So why don't we talk about? I want you to talk about what you saw in the trailer for Blair Witch.
So I got a lot of vibes from it that came off kind of like Alien Isolation and the Outlast games, and it's first person mode, and it seems like it's a lot like Cabin in the Woods. I got a little super excited for a minute there, where I thought it was maybe a new Evil Dead game because there's been a rumor about that coming on. There's a cabin, and then you see the person standing in the corner, right? And it eventually, like I said, it was revealed that it's a Blair Witch game. It's coming out October. I know it's this year, right?
Yeah, I think it's October 20. Let me confirm the date.
Sure. But at least in the trailer, it did confirm it's coming day one to Game Pass. So I will be using Game Pass to play that game because it looked very, very interesting. Yeah, it was one of the ones that stood out to me right away. I love my spooky games. I love to play them all in October. And it just seemed to fit right in my wheelhouse. So that was one of the ones that really stood out for me.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool. Sorry,
I'm seeing. I was gonna say I'm seeing August 30th for that.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah, so even sooner.
Other people in the chat are saying like Alan Wake and Amnesia vibes from it.
I can see
of
that.
Course, I got like a Silent Hill vibe immediately, but like another one it could be kind of associated with just style wise is Fatal Frame, because like the looking through the camera and all that.
Definitely.
It's very interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing what that actually ends up being.
Yeah, like what does the camera have like mystical abilities to like see things that could end up being really cool thing. I think it's really wild that they reached 20 years back to get a movie franchise that has long since put out its final movie.
Yeah, I'm sure that was really expensive to acquire that license.
It could be. One of the other titles, and again, this is also a Game Pass title, is from one of the studios that Microsoft recently acquired, and that is Obsidian. Obsidian's better known for doing Fallout New Vegas, among other open world RPG style games. And so this is Outer Worlds. They actually led their show with this trailer. Now, the thing that I saw in this that I found was really, really cool was I got so much of a BioShock vibe out of it. And it really, like, for that reason, like, it gives me like this Fallout in space, but with a heavy dose of BioShock. And I think that it is, I hope that it comes out as well as I expect it to. Hopefully it's on par with New Vegas and has that type of polish to it, but pretty exciting to see that. I don't have a lot of other comments on it because they just kept rolling into other news. One of the other big pieces of news was another new studio, right? So they picked up Obsidian along with a couple others last year. Oh yeah, and again, Outer Worlds is Game Pass day one as well. So, but a new studio got acquired, and this one I was like, really, when it happened, and that is that Tim Schafer and Double Fine Studios are coming to Xbox Game Studios going forward. And with that, they also revealed the next trailer for Psychonauts 2, which as I understand, is still going to be cross-platform. But going forward, we get Tim Schafer's Burton-esque wildness and LucasArts, point-and-click legacy, and get that in Xbox Game Studios catalog going forward. And that is a very exciting thing for me. I wouldn't mind, a lot of people go, hey, well, what's Tim Schafer really done other than Psychonauts? And a couple of titles that get thrown out more recently have been Brutal Legend. And I see there's some people who are actually clamoring for seeing more of that. That's the one with Jack Black from a few years back, which I believe... Okay, I'm not sure if that is available on Game Pass. I think you can download. It might be backwards compatible, but I don't know if it is on Game Pass. That might change. Who knows? There's a lot of licensing that's kind of messing with that one. That's one that I think could suffer the like Alan Wake syndrome down the road if considering some of the big names that they have cameos in there, like Ozzy and others, which I won't going to go into immense detail there, but pretty exciting news that we get that. And one of the things with that reveal, so I will say there was a tweet that went out that was meant in jest, at least there was a video attached to it, and it was Double Fine announcing their acquisition by Microsoft and Xbox Game Studios, and basically in that he jokingly said, "Well, they gave me a ton of money, and that was the reason." And so I understand that. One of the things that I know that I was talking with P1 about the difference between when Ninja Theory got picked up last year and how they were talking about how like this helps this studio survive. Whereas I think Tim Schafer is more like this lets me have my creative license. And P1 now says that they're lying. Oh, that I'm lying about us talking. So very well. Moving on then. We had some other. There was a very long sizzle reel of indie titles for that almost went by so fast that it was hard to even keep up with. And some of the commentators, as I understand, on Kind of Funny, were even critiquing the fact that just went so fast that there was no way that they could keep up. But every one of those, it's a really good sizzle reel. It's a couple minutes long. Every single title is coming to Game Pass on day one, including one of the ones from last year, which was After Party, which was brought up, and a couple others. There was one that is about being in a shopping cart. Did you guys see that one? That Supermarket Shriek?
Yeah, I think that's kind of like
Yep.
a physics game beast kind of like stream game. Like for people that stream like the odd like indie games.
Yeah,
I guess.
I could definitely see that. It almost, yeah. I'm trying to think of what it even compares to, but it's like a man and a goat in the back of a shopping cart yelling, and that's the two like driving forces for this cart to move forward. And you have to get through the supermarket. Super weird.
There are a couple other games like that with like the supermarket theme. I think there was even an issue with like maybe they were feuding with each other or saying they ripped each other off or something. I could be making that up. I don't remember if that was an actual thing. But there's like similar titles is all I can really say to that. I got tongue tied there for a second for some reason.
But yeah, there were a bunch of others though. There was a really wide spectrum. One of the noted omissions from this year was Tunic, and I'm not sure why that wasn't there. That was the one from last year, if you recall, was like a fox playing a Zelda game. So I'm interested to see where that is, because it didn't show up at all at any point during E3, not even in Nintendo's press or Nintendo's Direct. But yeah, take a look at that sizzle reel. Ton of games coming to Game Pass, and I should also point out that that for all of the games from E3, we have one of the most meticulous forum administrators or contributors that I have ever seen in our own Round 2 Gaming. Dean has been putting individual forum threads for every single game that's being shown or talked about at E3. So if you have a discussion that you want to have with that, I would suggest that you go check out the forums. And it is there's a bevy of information that you can either get out of there, the trailers he has all in there, and you can go comment on that, discuss it with us as well if you are so inclined. Aside from surprised we didn't even have this written down, but we're going to talk about the celebrity cameo that came up during Microsoft's press conference. Last year, they closed the show with Cyberpunk 2077. Which is the next game from CD Projekt Red. And we got more during the show. And little did we know that the trailer would end with John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves, with a nice old robotic arm deal going on. He is in the game. And then he came out and he told us all that we were breathtaking. And it was amazing. What did you guys think? Normally, Microsoft likes to get some star power out there. Was this good, Ryan? What do you think?
I prefer Ted Logan personally. Keanu Reeves. It was okay. It was, to me, it was mostly a CG trailer. I didn't see really much gameplay, so I mean, it's cool to having celebrity likeness in a game, but I still need to see more from this game to really get me excited about this game. Not downplaying it, but I kind of want to see more. Granted, so
I can understand that. The one thing with the Microsoft show, and Fitnet, I'll come back to your thoughts on Cyberpunk if you have any. One other thing about the show is that there was not an abundance of gameplay, and that can be interpreted both as a good or a very bad thing, in that they're basically running just commercials. But in the case of this game, this was actually one that Josh wanted to talk about, so we were going to hit it, but unfortunately, again, Josh could not make it with us tonight. But yeah, I think I need to see more too. I need to really grasp what the moment-to-moment stuff is like. They did that 45-minute demo, 6 months ago, and that's really all that we've publicly seen from that time to this time. But I need to get a better feel of like what this is like compared to like a Deus Ex Human Revolution, which has a lot of the same kind of body augmenting and stuff like that, and what it all really plays out to be. But the fact they added Keanu is pretty wild. Fitnat, does CD Projekt Red, are they your type of game at all, or is this kind of a stretch for you? And is this?
Well, it's a clearly different thing from Witcher, so I don't really have much experience with Witcher, but there's an early point of reference for them with this style of game that I'm aware of. But one odd thing I noticed, or I could be mistaken, from that previous gameplay footage that you mentioned, I think one of the characters that had stuff happen to them at the start of the trailer was like more involved, and like you were like partnered with them, but like they seem to be taking a back seat, no pun intended, to this presentation. And you've of course got a different protagonist, but you can, I assume, customize your character in this game. So that's not really a note. It's just or maybe you have multiple choices of protagonists. That would be better. But there are differences.
It was a very bland. If there is character customization, it's a very bland protagonist.
That, or they're keeping it generic, just kind of like everyman character, for lack of a better term.
Fair enough.
Like you can kind of put your spin on it from there on, whatever version you want to do. But yeah, I think it looks good. I don't know if it'll be for me necessarily, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay. Excellent. Well, then moving on from there, we got some more information on Gears 5, as well as their timeline. Gears is actually coming out in September, which is now an insane month for game releases. In fact, July to September is just crazy. So if anyone thought that this generation was moving on and is dead, like, we're getting that last salvo over the span of the remainder of this year, and it's going to be nuts. Gears 5 is releasing with a new mode. They actually have like 5 different modes that they're going to have, including their campaign, including Horde mode, as well as their standard 4v4 multiplayer. And then they added this one, which they showed off, which is called Escape, which to me felt like a 3-player Left 4 Dead PvE game. And that, I think, is very interesting. Like it feels like somebody's trying to recreate the next Left 4 Dead, and hopefully somebody can nail that, because there were a few other examples of this that showed up throughout the entirety of the conference. Was these sort of like small multiplayer experiences or cooperative multiplayer experiences. But yeah, so Gears 5 is coming in September. They didn't show us much more than that. There was a trailer that showed the internal struggle of the main protagonist, Kate, and then they kind of shifted right into this other mode as well. So more to come, though. In July, they're revealing the beta for their multiplayer is coming, and then in August at Gamescom, they're going to be showing off Horde mode, the new version of Horde mode. And if you have not played that yet. That is one of the most fun experiences that I've had, like, since the online generation has begun. Horde mode in a Gears of War game is choice. Highly recommend it. But let's move on to the other, probably the most significant. Well, this is a two-pronged announcement. The first of which being that they made it official that Project Scarlet is a thing. Project Scarlet is their next, Microsoft's next generation console, and they did kind of the same kind of hype trailer that they did for Scorpio when they announced that it was called Project Scorpio, which they seem to really like their project names, and they'll probably release whatever the next Xbox is. They'll release a version of that has the Project Scarlet branding. I have zero doubt in my mind that will happen. But they talked about it, and they said more to come, but they also said that it was coming holiday 2020, which is next winter. So we have another year and a half left of this generation officially. They didn't give us much more than that. I think they seemed to imply that there would be some backwards compatibility and that things would kind of work the same way that they are now, which is good news, meaning that we could potentially have 4 generations of Xbox games available on this Scarlet hardware.
I think they actually made mention of the 4 generations carrying over, or like having that backward compatibility. But yeah, continue. Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely correct. But that's all they gave us. They didn't give us any pictures. I think they showed us a picture of a chip, and that's about it. And that's it very much was the same kind of deal they did last year, or last time when they were revealing the Xbox One X and Scorpio. So I guess they're following their own model, and we'll see how all of that goes. Now, before I talk about the game that they said will be not coming with, but releasing at launch, I do want to talk briefly about xCloud and the timeline for that, because that is very exciting to me. They are throwing their own hat in the ring with their own streaming to any device type of gaming, and Stadia is doing it. Stadia did their thing last week, and apparently the pricing model on that is kind of nuts. What they are saying that xCloud is going to offer us is not only the ability to do what Stadia is doing and play to iOS devices and Android devices and to your PC or to just any device. I still have some thoughts about what that could mean. But they'll let you do that using either the Xboxes that they have in their server farms in their data centers throughout the US or throughout the world, or, and this is the part that gets me a little more excited about this, is that I can use the Xbox that I have right in my room and use that as my source to do remote play to my phone or my iPad or my computer or my laptop somewhere. As long as it can tether to a controller, I can play my Xbox anywhere. And it sounds like all of that is at no additional charge, which if that is the case, that would be amazing. Smart fridges, who knows?
Yeah, that functionality
Toasters
is free, if I remember.
See, and that I think is what makes this so much better than what Stadia was offering, because Stadia right now is like $10 a month. You still have to buy the games, but what Xbox is saying is like, you can have Game Pass, you can have your physical games, and you can play those remotely if you want to. So it's like I could go on vacation and I don't have to haul my Xbox around anymore. Like that, if I can find if this works, like this is a big deal to me. Yeah. I'm pretty excited about it.
All these services are going to be a little sketchy when they first launch. There's going to be growing pains with them. But a note on Stadia, it's free if you just want 1080p or 720p or something like that at a certain frame rate. But like the 4K and everything, that's when you have to pay the $10 if you want to stream it in a higher fidelity, as I understand it. Like the bigger,
you still have to purchase the digital game though.
Oh yeah. But like in terms of services, there is that the Pro service is $10 US, and that's for like the 4K, like highest fidelity possible that you can get. have to assume there are going to be free games included with that subscription or some version of that subscription. Otherwise, that's a little ridiculous. But yeah, we'll see how that ends up going.
The one comment I have, and there's some questions about why the Stadia price is kind of a sticking point for people. The thing that I'm stuck with is that at launch, Stadia does not have that free tier. At launch, it is only the Pro option. The only thing is the paid option, and that I think is going to you're going to get your early adopters, which is great, but I feel like you're going to hamper your ability to really test the capabilities when all these people are using this, assuming that it takes off. But
the other thing is you have the Founders Pack, which is around $150 US. I don't remember the exact amount. It's the controller and the Chromecast Ultra. That's the biggest barrier to it. But on other if you don't have to use it on your TV, which I would say that's fair because this is so you can take it with you for the most part. Is what the service is built on. But that's the only major barrier to entry is that controller and Chromecast Ultra cost, because the Chromecast Ultra is not cheap.
Yeah.
But it's still way cheaper than a console, but that's a barrier to entry to make note of. And the fact that that's Wi-Fi connectivity versus using Bluetooth controllers on the phone or your computer or something like that. It's going to be interesting to see how the different tiers and functionalities perform as compared to each other. And Caleb in the chat says 129 for the Founders Pack.
Yeah.
So it's less than what I said, but it's still not it's not entry level. But that could just be for the Founders Pack. That could make it cheaper or more expensive. Who the hell knows at this point?
Yeah, I assume at some point that there's going at some point there will be the a la carte version where you can buy the things that you need and not the extra stuff, like just the controller. But we'll see. The verdict is still out for me. I'm not jumping at Stadia right now because Microsoft is going to give me the thing that I basically want out of this new service without having to add on anything, at least right now. That's what they're saying. So I hope that functionality works, and I hope that I can be in places that allow me to utilize that functionality without totally killing data plans and things like that. So we shall see how all of that goes down the road. The other big thing that's down the road, though, for Microsoft is, of course, if you're launching new hardware, you're going to need a new game to come with it. And so we got a cinematic reveal of the new Slipspace engine in cutscene with our little trailer for Halo Infinite, which is going to be a launch title for the next Xbox. And so I'm pretty excited. Fitnet, you have some thoughts on the trailer or about the game itself? What did you think?
More just general thoughts. I think it looks cool. It's a cinematic trailer, so we don't really get anything. It's just they find Chief. We gotta finish the fight, or this version of the fight, or start the new generation fight. Who the hell knows? But we don't get much. But it's cool. Everything looks really good. I appreciate the color depth on his armor, which I didn't think I would be appreciating the details on the armor as much as I was in that trailer. But of course, that's what they want you to do. You want to sell the new engine and new hardware on just great visuals. And that's what we really got out of it. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot to go on, but the story set up for their intro to it is cool.
There's a Halo ring that's been destroyed. Are they and the thing is, it's been a while since I played 5. I just cannot recall. I know that we're up against, I don't want to go into spoilers. I still think you should play Halo 5. Let me just say that. If you haven't played it, it's still a Halo game. It may not be the best Halo game, but it's still a Halo game.
I can't recall where that left off either, by the way.
We don't
have to get into it.
I'll catch up. We didn't get into it right now.
I agree with you. It's just what does this have to do with the previous one?
There were some phrases that were spoken by Cortana toward the end of the trailer, and like I got chills, and I was like, this felt good. Like I haven't like felt that way since like the Halo 3 reveal with like the Starry Night where the kids are like laying down and it turns into like a battlefield type of thing. Like that trailer and like the end of this trailer had some like I had some similar feels coming out of it. So hopefully they nail it. If it's supposed to be as much of a callback to Combat Evolved as they're suggesting that it might be, then that excites me quite a bit. So I'm pretty psyched there. So I think that's going to be it for Microsoft. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but
one quick thing.
Ryan, go ahead.
And I only say this because I don't want anyone to not say we didn't say it. They also announced a new Elite controller with 3 settings.
Yes.
And it costs $180 US. So
it's a beautiful looking controller though. Like tension adjustment on the on the thumbsticks.
This is gonna sound, because I'm a PlayStation fan, but that's almost the price of a console. Now it's Elite, so it's a different person. It's for a person who doesn't care. It looks impressive, but that's a steep price in my opinion. It's a steep price.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
It's not my market, I guess.
The other Elite version, the one that the previous Elite version was, I think, 150 when that came out. The one that comes in this fancy little package here. But yeah, that looks like a sharp controller. If that came down another like $40-50, then it might be more appealing to me. But I get where the price is. I think 40-hour battery was a very appealing thing. Although most people who are going to be playing with that are probably not going to be playing wireless anyways. Like if they're using it for like actual competitive purposes, but yeah. But that's a replacement. Sorry, show it off. That is a replacement for the previous Elite controller, which is this one. And this is the one that has like you can take the thumbsticks off, and I have different height ones on there. So this one, the price may come down. But yeah, it is. They also have the paddles for the back, so they snap in or they magnet in to there, so you can program them and stuff like that. The difference being that this one has space for 2 profiles, and that one has space for a third. So you could even set it up to have like different settings for different game types, if you wanted to go so far as to set and program those things for you. But that could be very, very interesting. But yes, thank you for bringing that up. I don't want to miss out on that. Before we get to our next 2 Cartridge Club games, do you guys want Cartridge Club games? You want to know CC Prime games again? Should we do that now, or should we?
Let's do 2 now. Let's do 2 now. Okay. So the next one up, this is going to be for November.
And November is a very, let's see, how far into that were we? This is how far. I don't have a good theme. There's not a good reason why we're putting this game in November, so we're not. But come on, play the music. So for November, we have opted to pick a stealth game, and one that we've already from a franchise that we've already played in a previous season. We're going to be playing Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Ryan, you were one who was very much the motivation for picking this one. But yeah, let me know what drove you to pick this one.
Because you made a video a year ago where you said you played no Metal Gear Solid games, and I'm going to make sure you play the best one. And it's technically the first game in the series. Granted, it's the 3rd game, but story-wise in the franchise, it takes place before anything else. You don't need to play the first game to play this game, in my opinion. So
there you go. So yeah, so that will be our game of the month for November. Again, is Metal Gear Solid. So again, to recap, for those who missed the earlier announcements, September is StarCraft. October is Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse, and now we are playing Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake Eater.
That's right.
So moving on to December, and then we'll continue on with the E3 breakdowns. But December is going to be a wild one. There are December's usually a big time for like big blockbuster movies to hit right around Christmas time. And so we thought, wow, let's like last year, toward the end of the year, we did Red Dead Redemption 2, and we were really eyeing a lot of the stuff that was coming out of E3, and we're like, why don't we play something that fits a theme for a game coming out toward the end of, or for a movie that's coming out toward the end of this year, and instead, we are going to play a Star Wars game. We are going to be playing Knights of the Old Republic on the Xbox for December. Fitnet, we didn't tell you about that one, did we?
No, you did not.
Yes. So we're playing KOTOR, yes. Knights of the Old Republic is available on it is on Game Pass right now. It is backwards compatible with the Xbox One and the 360 as well. So if you can find a disc, which you can get for relatively cheap, or you can buy it digitally, or get Game Pass. So many different options.
It's on everything. Like you can get it on GOG or mobile, and it's always on sale. Like you can get. I think I got it on mobile for like $3. I have no intention of playing it that way, but it's like, yeah, $3. I'll throw it on another platform for me to not play it on. I guess we'll get around to it in December finally.
Yeah, so it's available in a lot of different places and a lot of different methods to play. But yeah, we are playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic again as December. We are not Microsoft shills, I promise. Hey, we're balancing. We got a Nintendo game. We got a PC game. We got a Nintendo game. We got a PlayStation game from Konami. And then we've got, actually, that's 2 Konami games in a row. I see what you're doing. And then we get a Star Wars game on the Xbox. So there you go. That's the start of Season 7 here so far.
And it's not our fault that Microsoft is awesome and doing everything friggin' right now.
Microsoft is awesome. Moving on. Let's see. The other presentation, I'm not going to say the only other presentation, but one of the other presentations for Sunday was Bethesda. And Bethesda this year, we don't have a ton to talk about for Bethesda. There's 2 games specifically that we have sort of earmarked, but the overall thought was that they walked out a lot of their previous games, and I get that, like, a lot of their titles, Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls Online, Blades, and Elder Scrolls Legends, like, these are all live games, so they're by nature, if you're not talking about them for the life of their game, like, they're missing it, like. And so I don't know, there wasn't a ton here. The big thing that we all wanted to hear about was Doom, but I do need to question something that I noticed that happened again this year. That's happened. It seems like Bethesda tries this cutesy thing where they're like, "Oops, game came out. Sorry, made some mistakes. Aren't we awesome for fixing them?" And I have to wonder how much longer that type of approach can last, because they've done that with, they did that with Fallout 4, they did that with Fallout 76, like all of their big games, their biggest Bethesda studio games have all had this sort of like, oops, thank you for the feedback, and I just, it's odd that that either they're getting a pass for it, whereas other studios or other studios that are trying to do it, and I'll throw Anthem out here right now. That's what Anthem is trying to do, is fix the boat from sinking. But Bethesda can put out Fallout 76 in whatever state that it was. And I haven't played the game, so please don't let my criticism of the game be a reason not to try it. You can try it right now. There's a free trial right now for the next week. So give that a try if that is something that you're interested in. But yeah, like, oh, we're so buggy. Isn't it great that we have a team that can fix this stuff and that we pay our team and stuff? That's like, fix your stuff. I don't know if you guys have any comments on that. If you don't, that's fine. But
No, how about just don't release your stuff until it's ready? That's a better approach. But
Could do that.
Ideally, yeah, but sometimes you just have to put it out. I don't think Bethesda's in that position as much as other developers, but also sometimes you just don't know it's as bad as it is until you turn the servers on and everyone starts hitting it. But I think I get what you mean about like oh, we goofed.
It's like good guy Bethesda,
tired.
right? Like
yeah,
they're the one making the mistake in the first place, and then they're reaping the rewards for fixing their mistakes. And
yeah, but like, sorry, Yodd.
I mean, that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to be like, screw you, your game's broken, and then it's like, we fixed it. Sorry about that. Screw you, you already broke it. This is too late.
Fair enough.
Like,
I can't. I mean, the fact of the matter is, yes, they are fixing it.
Yeah, screw you for breaking it, and screw you for fixing it. It's just like you have to give some leeway, even to big companies. It's like because they won't learn what is and isn't worth doing unless they get positive feedback along with the negative.
Yeah, that's true.
Because it's like, and I absolutely get what you mean. Like that only works so many times, but I think with specifically Fallout 76, they really needed to touch on that because it's like that was a big goof. Like they messed up a lot with that one. They messed up with their other ones in that they are glitchy. They're still good games and they're playable for the most part, but the glitches are usually more goofy than like game breaking in like things like Skyrim or Fallout, as far as I'm aware. But Fallout 76 just landed like a freaking lead balloon. It was done on freaking impact.
Well, yeah, and I think some of that is a lot of the audience that didn't want a live game.
Yeah,
which is funny because you did. Okay.
Yeah, so I can kind of like see where they come from with that, and I won't drag on it too long, but I do want to say that like my biggest issue with Fallout 76 playing it like much later after a lot of the fixes is like it feels like a single player game except you're playing with people. So like if you're playing with a friend, one of you is always waiting for the other person to finish like going through a text box or looting a corpse or some other thing. It's like this thing that you could go about your business on at your own pace in single player games, and that works great, just drags everything down in a multiplayer game. Yeah. And I had similar problems with that in Anthem as well, like because we played that and like you would have to stop for one person to watch the story and all that. I'll cut that off there, but like yeah, it's just like there are problems with that. I'll just sum it up with that.
Sure.
They needed to touch on the mistakes of Fallout.
Sure, and no better way to fix that than by throwing a battle royale mode in there, which we won't dwell on. But yeah, they're adding BR to Fallout. The other big thing from the show, though, there were two other things. One of them I'll briefly touch on, and that's Ghostwire Tokyo, which is from the team that did. Oh, geez, I lost the name of the
Evil Within.
Evil Within. Thank you. But it is not. It's not Mikami though. It is his protege, who's taking over, and you should just go watch her talk. Like that's some wholesome stuff.
That was really good.
Yeah. So won't go into too much of it, but just go watch her talk about her game that's coming, and that one looks pretty wild. I don't know enough about it because it was just a cinematic, but it looks like some kind of post-rapture type thing with ghosts and whatnot. Spookiness. But then the other thing that that Bethesda closed out with was Doom Eternal, which we knew was coming and is actually coming sooner than we where's that at again? Where's on the release schedule? Doom Eternal is
November 22nd.
November 22nd. So right in time for Black Friday, you're going to get a new Doom game. Give thanks. And yeah, so Fitnat, what'd you think of what we got to see from Doom, and were you on board, and are you on board now?
I was on board before. I never finished the first game, but I really enjoyed what they did with it. Like it's a good revival of the franchise, and there's not a whole heck of a lot to go on with the new one yet, at least for me personally. Like in terms of things I can comment on, but I did want to note like it kind of feels a little Quake-ish. The new one. Like just in terms of the enemy design and like the swords and everything like that, and like the like spiritual, like the ethereal being on a throne, that kind of stuff. Like
yeah, there was like kind of a more there, right?
Yeah,
like
gives me kind of a more mythical, like medieval Quake vibe, but neon. So I like that too, with like the swords, like the neon laser swords and all that. Me complimenting laser swords in a video game, what are the odds? But
That's good.
yeah, and laser axes. I mentioned that too. But it looks awesome. That's pretty much all I can really say about it.
Yeah, I think for most people like that have played Doom, like when they knew that another one was coming and that it was going to be pretty much everybody from the previous one going for that, like I think that we didn't need to see a whole lot. They showed us multiplayer, which honestly, the kind of arena announcer that was built into multiplayer felt kind of silly to me. But I didn't play the first game for the multiplayer. I played it for the campaign, and I don't know. It looks really cool. I'm interested to see what happens because they mentioned something about balance and how, like, I get the impression that the Doomslayer is going to overdo it with the demon slaying, and somehow he's going to have to then balance that out because like maybe like there's actually like a part where he's like fighting angels on top of that, or like angelic versions of the demons or something. That would be wild.
Are you saying they're going to need to execute Order 666?
The Order 6, there you go. No more Star Wars to talk about.
I had to get a pun in somewhere.
No, that's great. That's great. Okay. We'll touch on one thing from the Devolver presentation that I saw, but I personally didn't watch it. In the past years, we've commented on how the Devolver presentation has been kind of this like we've had mixed opinions. Let's just say that. We're not going to go into immense detail there. You can always go back and look at previous years if you're curious. But there was a game that they showed called Carrion that looks wild. It looks like a horror game flipped, where you're actually the monster. And Ryan, you were the one that pointed this out to me because I just wasn't going to watch any of it. But then you said you watched a trailer for it,
and actually, I'll say that I actually enjoyed the Devolver one. It was a pun kind of RoboCop, and then they started spoofing Nintendo Directs with Devolver Directs. I thought they put on a good show. Granted, they didn't have. I felt like last year they had more to announce, and granted, they have a few games ready to announce. And we saw the Hype Train trailer for My Friend Pedro, which comes out the 22nd, I want to say. Or 20th of this, sometime next week. So but they did show off one game. It was called Carrion, right? Is that what it's
Carry
called?
On.
Carry On.
Not carry on like baggage, but like carrion.
Like what vultures eat.
Mm-hmm. But it was basically a giant meat blob that eats the humans on a spaceship. I it was a spaceship, right? It looked like, to me, it came off like a spaceship, and the goal is basically to survive the humans attacking you and to just, I guess, keep getting bigger and bigger and moving throughout.
It's like a disgusting Katamari game or something.
Kind of, yeah.
I can see a little bit on it. Like, I got kind of the vibe of kind of a similar vibe, like aesthetically and just kind of gameplay wise with the creature of like combination of Alien Infestation, like the DS game, and World of Goo, of all things.
Okay.
I can
see that.
Just like the tentacles and like attaching to different things. But now that Ryan describes it, like the breaking out and all that stuff, it's also kind of similar to that game Ape Out that came out recently, where you're like this ape escaping from captivity, and you have to survive as long as you can and get through the security forces and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of odd that those two games kind of share a similar setup.
Yeah, and they're both Devolver games by coincidence as well. So, but yeah, so that's what I think my takeaway from Devolver was. And but yeah, it sounds like maybe if that their type of humor is your thing and you didn't get a chance to watch it, it's like 20 minutes long. So go give it a watch. Moving in. Oh yes, sorry.
I was just gonna end up saying, like, for me personally, I liked this show better than the previous years, but like I still think they like extend the joke too much occasionally. But I thought this was an improvement. I'll end there.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Maybe sometime once the dust is settled, I'll go back. But yeah, so let's move into Monday. Monday was a Monday was scheduled to be a busy day, but I didn't feel like it got like it didn't gain momentum until the end of the day. My opinion. Of the PC gaming show, there were a couple of things that pointed out. They talked a little more about Baldur's Gate 3. They showed us a little more of Manhunter, which was one of the games that we talked about last year. That was where you play as it's a shark PG, and that one I thought looked like a lot of fun.
Is it Maneater?
Maneater, yep. Yeah. And then the PC Gaming Show decided to show us PC Gaming Show, brought to you by the Epic Store. Brought us Ryan. Why don't you talk about the game that they decided to give a little preview for, and maybe some of the news that's associated to that.
Yeah, the highlight of the PC show, well, for me, was Shenmue 3. That they were going to be showing it off, and they had with what I thought was the first English trailer for the game, and they showed off and it looked pretty good. I listened to Easy Allies, their preview for it, because Michael Huber actually got to play it, and he got to play a 15-minute demo for it. So I took some notes for it. And one other thing I want to say real quick before getting off this, there was a Walmart trailer that actually came out a couple days prior as well that plays on the PlayStation 4 kiosk demo that shows off more things like forklifting returning. Chai is back from the first game. So they show a couple things off from that. Some of the other things that they talked about that's different about this game is that there's a new combat system that you have to actually train in order to advance. There's going to be tougher guys. You have to eat food and sleep to build up your stamina throughout the days. Lucky Hit is back. There's turtle races that you can gamble on. So there's little stuff like that. What Huber said is he said it feels like the old game but smoother. Capsule toys, they're no longer based off of the Sega franchises because, granted, it's originally a license owned by Sega. It's not being made by Sega. So the capsule toys kind of reflect characters from the first game, at least from what I've seen. So you got your Nozomi, Chai figures. There's a forklift. So there's a few more different capsule figures in this game. And I'm just going through my notes here.
Ryan's loving this moment. I just want to point that out to everyone who's watching us right now.
This is one of the highlights of E3 for me. So I've been doing my research for it, basically. But yeah, I wish I could be there to play it. Yeah, I love how it looks. So I know there's the delay to November, and there was the announcement for Epic that it's now a Epic exclusive for a year, but
for PC.
For PC. But it's a console game, so you should be playing on a console. So, yeah, I mean, I'm very happy with it. I'm glad Michael Huber, who is a fan of the series, spoke very highly about it. If you want to hear what he says, he goes in way more in depth. It's on the day one impressions, and it's about 1 hour into the show. So, like I said, I can only go by what he says and what I've seen. But I'm happy it's still coming, and I'll bring this up when we talk about Final Fantasy 7 too, so I'll save that for later. But yeah, cool. That's one of the highlights for me from the PC show.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. So moving on from the PC show, we got one of the big mainstays is Ubisoft, which this year was the way too much Watch Dogs and way too much Tom Clancy conference. My opinion, I feel like there wasn't. I'm so used to them having some stuff that's like energetic and fun, and it was so like dour and gray and brown. Like I was not pleased with the presentation. I'm not going to take time to really like say a whole lot more from my opinion on that. But I do want to bring up Gods and Monsters, which is what they closed the show with. They brought out a guy who I'm not sure how far out this game is, although the impression there's actually somewhere I found on a release schedule that Gods and Monsters is coming out in like February. But it's giving like major Breath of the Wild clone kind of feel to it, and so it looked really cool. Some of us were like, "Oh, it's Kid Icarus," like that. Maybe that is like a little bit of that. little bit of Greek and a little bit of Breath of the Wilds. I don't think you can go wrong with that combination. Seems like everyone's trying to tap into somebody else's mythos lately. So, but yeah, so that was Gods and Monsters. There was a lengthy demo, like I said, for Watch Dogs Legion, which takes place in London. If you're interested in watching that, go ahead. Yeah, I would suggest that you do it. They go pretty in depth. I just felt like it went too long, and it was not the way to. It was the wrong tone to start off their presentation. But other than that, new Ghost Recon, new stuff for Division 2.
Let's not forget the Wii is not dead.
Oh, and the Wii's not dead. Yes, the Wii lives
Wii U
on.
is gone. That's gone.
Yes. So so Just Dance is getting Just Dance 2020 on the Wii. Not
on the Wii and the Switch, not on the Wii U.
Yes.
Pre-order now.
Skipping the Wii U. So if you are a complete Wii collector, you should probably make sure that you grab that one. But yeah. So that's what we had for Ubisoft. And then you had kind of a break where there were some other shows going on. Ryan, Fitnet, you guys want to talk about Kind of Funny Showcase and what they brought? Fitnet, do you want to talk about that?
Just a little bit. I don't remember a lot of the games shown just because it's similar to the Microsoft Sizzle. It was just a lot of games really fast, which a lot of them looked great, but not a lot stuck out to me. I added Skatebird to the end of our document, just half jokingly, because it's like a Tony Hawk skate type game with a bird, and like the bird's wearing a hat in the trailer. I just thought that looked goofy and fun. I think people should go look that up. It should just be a silly, fun little game. I'm looking forward to seeing, like, yeah, Tony Hawk, that's a common joke, but I appreciate it. It's a really good joke. But
very cool.
Yeah, it looks fun.
And then on the topic of like indies and stuff, because that Kind of Funny Showcase really focused on indies specifically. They gave a nice nice forum for indies to have their time in the sun. Now, of course, one studio, and I wouldn't even call them a studio, a company, is Limited Run. And Ryan and Fitnet, you both had things that you wanted to say about the upcoming Limited Run offerings that they have. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So there is going to be a Shenmue 3 Collector's Edition, which looks like it has both mirrors and some patches. So I probably am going to have to resort to buying Shenmue 3 again. So because that looks fantastic. I don't know the price on that one, but that is also launching in November. So I will be keeping an eye on that. Night in the Woods got an announced physical release. I am definitely eyeing that up, along with the Power Rangers fighting game. It's kind of a 3v3, kind of Marvel versus Capcom tag fighter. I'm keeping an eye on it. I know there were some mixed reactions, but as a fan of fighting games and the Power Rangers, it's at least the original release Power Rangers. I am interested in playing the game. So there's definitely a couple things. A lot of PS2 re-releases on there, but
I just want to say for Power Rangers, I ordered the heck out of that Mega Edition. I was not necessarily happy paying that much money for a Power Rangers game, but I had to get it. It's a steelbook with a magnetic morpher on it and coins that stick to the front of the case. That's just hitting the notes. That's going in the collection. If that's still up, the PS4 version has like 1,000 fewer copies printed for that limited edition if you want to go grab it. Just putting that out there for people.
Yeah, limited run for me. I don't want to like be the one to like be the downer there. Like there's still they still haven't found that game that it's like I have to have this physically. There's a game that got announced later that if that's the only way to get a physical edition, I suppose then I'll have to like click into the ecosystem. But like nothing else that they showed there really got me at this point. Although at the end they did reveal that they're doing a whole bunch of Star Wars games. Is that right, Fitnat?
Yes, they did. I have no idea what they're going to do in terms of what console all of them are going to go on. Also, I want to say it's a general Lucasfilm partnership. So they're doing stuff like Monkey Island and there's other games, but there's way too freaking many of them to remember. But there's stuff other than Star Wars that they're bringing back. but like which ones are going to be on PC and which ones are going to be on other platforms. The one they showed is Bounty Hunter on PS4. So that got like a PS2 on PS4 version of Bounty Hunter. So that's probably one they're doing a physical release of, which is good. But like, it was like seeing all those classic games and then Bounty Hunter. It's like, that's kind of the most boring one.
They had like TIE Fighter and X-Wing and all
Yeah.
those. And,
it's like, good game, but not as good as the other ones they showed.
Yeah.
Also strange. Apparently that release, which is not advertised on the case, is going to include the NES and Game Boy Star Wars games.
That's wild.
That is random. That's not even available like digitally. Like they have on PS4 the like the first Super Star Wars and a couple other ones like that. The NES game and those aren't on there. I don't know where else they would put it other than with Bounty Hunter, but that is still bonkers.
Yeah. Well, what about the Famicom one? Like, we want that too.
Yeah, that'd be good. I hope that's on there now that you mention it. I doubt it, but it would be fun.
Scorpion Vader.
Should be.
Yeah. Cool. Well, while we're on the kind of topic of like some wild, like mixed bag of things, Ryan, you had noted here that there was some announcement from Retrobit that you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, so Retrobit kind of been, Musty, I think you remember you purchased a Retrobit Hori style controller at Midwest, because at Portland last year they revealed that they were redoing the Japan-only re-release of the Hori controller, but it was made more for American-sized hands. It's slightly bigger. It's kind of got the GameCube style. Well, today they announced that there is, actually it was yesterday, they announced that there is going to be a wireless version of that. That's coming out, I believe, later this year. They also announced that they have done a re-revision of the Dreamcast controller, where it has a much more smoother D-pad, and they now have a 6-button layout on top of the controller as opposed to the 4 buttons. So they kind of, I believe, moved the we call it the trigger buttons have been now moved to the top, so it's should be a little bit more efficient for fighting games and whatnot. They also announced that they have a wireless Sega Saturn controller and a wireless Genesis controller that's also officially licensed by Sega that they are distributing. So those are a couple things I will definitely be eyeing at conventions I will be attending in the future. And they do fun. I don't know if it's a fun fact, but they do bundle the controllers if you buy more than one. Bundle and give you a better deal if you see them at a convention. Keep that in mind if you don't want to order online, you want a better deal if you plan to attend a game convention. So that's definitely caught my eye today with Retrobit, and that, like I said, they have a presence on the show floor. They just don't have a show to, I guess, announce it. So follow them on Twitter.
They're still pretty small, so I don't think they're going to do that. Hyperkin was showing off their prototype for the N64 Retron. That's coming.
I think they also showed off a light gun for flat screen TVs today as well.
That was Polymega, wasn't it?
I think they had one as well too, though.
They have one as well. So everyone's trying to figure out light gun technology for the modern age, which is great because that's a gap right now for a chunk of that era, 8 and 16-bit, and Saturn and all that too, PlayStation as well. There were a couple other announcements that were not attached to any presentation, and you want to talk about Yooka-Laylee real quick.
Yeah, that was announced on Thursday.
I think it was Thursday. Yeah.
So last Thursday leading into it, they announced that there is, I don't want to say it's a sequel, but maybe it is. It wasn't announced as Yooka-Laylee 2, but there was Yuka. Let me go right here. My notes here.
And the Impossible Lair.
And it came off to me like the 2D Donkey Kong Country games or Tropical Freeze, where I've seen a lot of the things in, the people who make that game, Playtonics, they are essentially the original people who worked at Rare. So with the original Yooka-Laylee releasing 2 years ago, they kind of went back to the 3D platformers that people know them from the N64 days, and now it seems like they're kind of going to the Super Nintendo era. And like I said, I got a lot of like Super Nintendo Donkey Kong vibe from it, and it definitely was on my radar now to see how it comes out when it releases. I enjoy both platformers is definitely one of my favorite kind of genre, both 3D and 2D. So it's definitely on my radar here. And
Very
also,
cool.
but also there was announced the re-release of Destroy All Humans, that same following shortly after it too.
So THQ Nordic announced now 3 different games last week. One of them being a Diablo style Darksiders game, which looks like and as I understand, it's only going to be a $40 title as well. But it looks like it is going to scratch the itches for everyone who's got that dungeon crawler loot delver type game. I don't even know what genre that's called anymore.
Loot RPG.
Loot RPG. Yes. So there's that. There's the remake of SpongeBob SquarePants: The Battle for Bikini Bottom, and then, as Ryan said, Destroy All Humans, with a pretty wild trailer that they showed off there with some Rammstein. So, and then the other big announcement was that Arcade 1-Up is expanding their catalog.
Yes.
Arcade 1-Up makes those like they're not half size. They're like slightly bigger than half size arcade units.
Maybe quarter sized. I would say probably quarter sized, right? Let's go with quarter size.
Quarter sized quarter measures.
There you go.
There you
go. Yeah, and I wanted to mention that because they announced 2 of them the other day and a third today. So the big one to me, and it's probably be the first one I jump on, is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mini arcade cabinet, where it comes with the original arcade game plus Turtles in Time, and it comes with the original. If you know about the original arcade arcade poster, I got one right there. It comes with it on the side of the cabinets, the extended base that raises off the floor. That also has the same pattern and design on it. And it's 4-player too. So, I took a look at the board. It looks definitely a lot more wider. It's the first one that's a 4-player board. And I guess one thing that I find really interesting about that is I thought going into this that Activision, or I thought Activision or whoever had the current rights to license Turtle games, but they are using Konami's games. So, this is I think it's exciting because this means probably other things can go forward. You might be able to get, who knows, maybe a 6-player X-Men cabinet in the future, or a cabinet that features X-Men, Simpsons, and some other, I guess, classic Konami games. Especially the beat 'em ups that were definitely a part of my childhood growing up. And the other one I wanted to mention was the Marvel cabinet that was announced, which features Marvel superheroes. It features X-Men: Children of the Atom, and it features Punisher. All released by Capcom, and it looks fantastic to me. I am tempted by that one as well, but I would be more tempted, and I think they know. It's just maybe this was just like a testing head, but I would love to see and Marvel vs. Capcom 1, 2, and X-Men vs. Street Fighter in another additional cabinet. Granted, this is a thing of space, so I don't know if I'll be purchasing a whole ton of these, but it's definitely like, I love the look of these things, and it's definitely on my radar. Today they announced there is also, I know we try to say we're done with talking about Star Wars, but they announced a Star Wars mini cabinet today too, featuring the classic ones made by the Atari, which had the steering controller on it too. So they announced that today at E3 as well. So I think that's fantastic.
There is more. There's more that got announced. They're doing. There's 2 more. One is a Namco machine that has 8 games. The other one is a Capcom machine, and they are cocktail tables.
Ooh, okay.
And the Capcom machine has Street Fighter in a tabletop setting, and it gives you 2 versions of the same screen, one facing each seat. There's a picture of it on their official Twitter, so you can go take a look at that. But yeah, there's it's got Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition branding, but there's 11 other games on there. So, but they are significantly more expensive, but they're cocktail tables instead, which is pretty cool.
All this Star Wars stuff is going to break me. It's just so much.
I know, right? I know.
The cabinet. Why? Why do they do this to me?
Yeah. I think that cabinet's like closer to like their normal tiers, like $299 US. But this, I think these ones, because there's like extra hardware and like they got the actual steering column thing, is going to be closer to $4. I think that's what I saw.
Oh, of course it's going to be more expensive.
Of course.
Why wouldn't it be? Why would the only one I'm interested in be the cheaper one?
Gotta pay for that license.
Ugh.
Okay. So let's get into the last two shows, because we have a fair amount to talk about here. I will quickly just say this Square Enix presentation, for as much of Monday felt kind of down. The Square Enix presentation was perfectly paced. I feel like they spent the right amount of time on games, and I just was very impressed by how they did it. Now, some of that could be a little bit of me getting the thing that I've wanted for a long time, and that is that Final Fantasy VIII is getting a remaster, and it is coming this year, and I could not be more happy. But I'm not gonna. I don't know that you guys really have any other comments toward that, but
I'm happy for you, Must See, because you've been asking for it for like 2 years now.
Thank you. Well, you've heard me actually verbalizing it. Once all these other ones started to come out, and once they announced a whole ton of them on Switch, and 8 was never there, and it's just like you guys are. It's the redheaded stepchild of Square, and I don't know why. And now we don't need to worry about that. But I am, and I have a witness that can say that I verbally was louder than I've been at any other point during any other one of these press conferences.
You had a Michael Huber?
Not so much. And I didn't curse because the kid was around, but I was quite excited. So very, very happy.
Were you slightly disappointed that Sean spoiled it for you because he had to read the?
He didn't spoil it for me, because he didn't I was I don't know, if he hadn't have said anything, I don't know if it would have been different. But we don't talk to Sean, right? Sean and I don't talk, never. So, anyways, the other two, there were two other really big Square Enix points to talk about. So let's talk about the one that ended the show first, and that's Avengers. Fitnat, what'd you think of what you saw? Give me a couple minutes on your thoughts on the Crystal Dynamics Avengers.
I hate to just feel like most of my thoughts are like, it looks cool. But again, it's CG trailer. It's we got hints of what gameplay could be. But it does look really cool. I'm curious what they're going to do with the story. And the one major note I have on the game that just it's one of those things 99% of the people watching wouldn't pick up on, but the fact they left that word in there but they didn't expound on it at all just weirded me out. I'm really curious to see where they're going to go with it. But they mentioned a Terrigen reactor. And nerd moment like I did with Star Wars, Terrigen is the substance that gives Inhumans their powers. Yes, the show is terrible, but the comics are good. But so there's a Terrigen bomb essentially. So I'm wondering how that's going to affect the world of the game and people having their powers awakened. It's genes that are dormant in Inhumans and it's awakened by the mist. So maybe they'll have Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel in there, and that'll be kind of a point of view character. That's a theory I saw floating around. But yeah, that could be awesome.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, the likenesses they chose, but it's going to be hard not having the movie likenesses, even though obviously we weren't going to get that.
Yeah, Ryan, what did you think about the look, right? We're so ingrained in 10 years of Marvel Cinematic Universe. What did you think of the choices that were made here?
I didn't care for the look of them without the masks and whatnot. Yeah, and maybe it is because the movies have ingrained us basically, but I think I would have preferred a closer to the movie look or something because it's different. It's not going to bother me that much, and it's mostly because of the cast that they casted to play the important roles of the game. They casted Nolan North, who known by I guess most in the gaming community is Drake from the Uncharted series, Uncharted 2 Game of the Month. Play it. So yeah, he's in there. Troy Baker, who was also mostly part of Naughty Dog. He plays Joel, from The Last of Us. He is playing Bruce Banner, the Hulk. You have Laura Bailey who remember was MJ in the Spider-Man game, and I believe she plays what is it? Cat is in Gears of War, I believe.
Yes.
So
yeah.
so
She's in a lot. Like that. Like it's really a super group
Mhm.
of voice actors that they put together here.
But no, to me, like they said, I believe the trailer even started off with in-game engine for it, and I heard too also from the Easy Allies talking about it today that granted they didn't get to play it, but they got to at least see it being played live, and it basically, I mean, one thing I guess I kind of liked hearing it when they were talking about it towards the end of the show that it will have a 4-player co-op option, so you can play with your friends online, and they will take on I guess a different power, and you have your own screen. You can do it your own thing. And from my understanding, the gameplay is very much kind of like I forgot what they said for the Hulk, but Iron Man very much felt like playing an Anthem, and Black Widow was very much like a ninja character, with like the attacks, and it I don't know, it really it's definitely on my radar. I would love to see the gameplay more. I mean, like I said, I felt like I got hints in the trailer what the gameplay is going to look like. So I want to see more. They did say they will have more down the road, and I'm guessing that's probably going to be at some kind of Sony show because they said Sony had the marketing rights for it, and I
And
imagine
they also said that everything else that's coming. I may be jumping ahead for you there, but all the future content is all included in the base cost of the game, which I think is smart. It was one of the few times in this presentation, in like in all of E3, where they really made a point of saying that and like really emphasizing it. But I'm glad to hear it, right? Like especially if they do start to add other Marvel characters, or if there's others that maybe you can use in multiplayer that aren't part of the campaign or something like that.
They did say I think Sony had an exclusive character too or something for the game. So
I wonder who that could be.
So, granted, it's not being made by the same company, but I have
They'll
an
find a
idea.
way to make it work.
Yeah.
Dean made a good point in the chat here that not a lot of people had issue with Peter Parker and how Peter Parker was portrayed, knowing that Tom Holland was the Marvel equivalent. So I mean, there is that too.
I think the case though is you saw mostly in a Spider-Man mask the entire time, as opposed to seeing a lot of them without said masks or whatever in this game. So
Iron Man looks fine. I have no problem with how Iron Man looks.
Long hair, bum Iron Man.
Well, that's what happens when you have 5 years.
Sure.
You get scraggly and you get very, very tired looking.
Sure.
That's how it is. But yeah.
I was like, I don't know why the look bothers me a little bit in this one, because like the argument with Spider-Man, like you could say the movie version of Spider-Man is not as analogous to the comic book equivalent in look as the game version is, so there's less of a disconnect there because you can clearly distinguish the different versions, but you kind of get that uncanny valley with the Avengers because we're so used to the on-screen portrayal and they're so much closer to their comic counterparts. So I don't know. And comics have like different artists and different ways of drawing characters all the time, so I have no idea why it bugs me. It doesn't bug me that much, but it's like a little off-putting.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what to make of all of it. The biggest thing I think people like, Thor looks like Jesus, like way looks like Jesus.
Oh, before we forget, you just made me remember what they said about Thor. They said he played a very much like Kratos in the new God of War game with the axe. They said that's what his game
really?
played. So
okay, I can't complain over that. Like that works for me.
I also find it funny like how analogous they are to like the Anthem character roster. Like Hulk is the Colossus, Iron Man's the Ranger, and Thor's the Storm. And I guess that would make Black Widow the Interceptor or something. But we'll see.
Yeah, we will see. I mean, but that's the thing. People wanted the. We're not going to talk about Anthem, anyways. Moving on. The big thing that we've all been waiting for years and years and years is that we have a date for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Not part one. They're not officially calling it part one, but We are getting that in March 20th of next year. And I think that's amazing. The demo that they did for this was spot on. Like the way that they walked people through it, showing the combat is probably the biggest thing. And Ryan, you don't like turn-based RPGs.
Nope.
At all.
Period.
What do you think?
I'm sold. Game looks fantastic. Looks like the first Final Fantasy game I'm actually excited to play. Gameplay looked great. Actually, I wrote rad. It looked rad. I liked that you could switch back and forth. It had a little bit of a hack and slash feel to it too. You know, the build-up meter. Yeah, I don't know. It just looked like something to play. The only thing I'm going to say negative about it is that it's episodic, and I only say this is because I only fear that I'll probably keep playing this game, and then I'll beat it, and then who knows when the next set release will be, and I'll wait around, and then I'll get deflated on wanting to coming back. That's a nitpick right there. It's not a deal breaker. It's definitely on my radar to play it probably next year when it releases. So, like I said, it looked fantastic. Final Fantasy is usually the last of anything I care about, but it looks awesome. So, just want to say that.
Cool. Yeah, so I know that there's some people in chat right now who are talking about the fact that it is on. They're saying that it is on 2 discs, 2 Blu-ray discs. The content that they're looking at. They also have said that it cuts off at the end, for those who played it, that cuts off at the end of the Midgar section of the story, and that because all the assets will be built, the future editions will come marginally faster than this first one has, which this first one's taken quite a while. But what I understand is that they are saying that this episode, which they're not calling it an episode, but they're saying Final Fantasy Remake Part 1. I'm just going to call it Part 1.
Can't wait for Final Fantasy 7-2 and Final Fantasy 7-3.
But they're saying that the content here is going to be akin to the game length of a current Final Fantasy game. So, like, look at 15. Like I've seen people finish 15 in anywhere between like 35 to like 60 hours, right? So can they fit that much time into this Midgar portion of the story? I have a feeling that they're adding a ton, and that is, you know, even if it's just fleshed out conversations and things like that, I think that'll be great, because some of the story just kind of, when you don't have voice acting, those things can go by really quickly. You can actually have some meaningful conversations that maybe pay off better down the road. I'm nervous about what that means, right? Like if this chunk of the game is a 40-hour investment, whereas in the previous edition it wasn't nowhere near that. It'll be interesting to see how they pull that off. We did get to see Tifa. They finally showed her off. And
people were really excited for that. I wonder why.
I think they did a good job. I've seen some people who are saying that she could afford to put a little meat on her bones, but like I feel like they did the character justice. They could have really, like, I don't think that they would have messed it up, but they could have really infuriated those who have her as waifu, you know.
Imagine the reaction if she was in her like Advent 7 clothing, or was it like completely covered up.
Yeah. No, they I feel like they did a good amount of honoring the original intention and the original look without being so over the top, because that's the other thing they could have taken it the other direction. But yeah, Dean says that Midgar is like a 6-hour portion of the original game. Now they're talking about it's going to be a full length, you know, like the equivalent of what a full length game is now. Be really quite interesting. But
I also want to point out real quick, this ties back into Shenmue 3 here a little bit too. Is kind of I don't know if it's the right word, but it's kind of funny that the both games that were announced almost back to back at 2015 E3 were finally shown off really here, like first time playable showing off at this E3. So that was kind of neat, that people are always kind of wondering what's coming out, and then bam, here you go. Here's both of them. So
yeah. But yeah, so those were the biggest things out of Square Enix's presentation. They also brought up Outriders, which is by People Can Fly, and what else? Was there anything else? There was some new content coming for Brave Exvius.
isn't like Dragon Quest Definitive Edition announced there?
Yeah.
I
feel so betrayed by that Definitive Edition.
That's the one for the Switch, right?
Yeah.
11.
Like,
yeah.
It tackles every single problem that people had with the PS4 release, but there's no way in hell there's going to be a patch adding all that stuff in, like the Japanese voiceover and the orchestrated soundtrack and the ability to play in like the classic 2D style.
Yeah, that 8-bit mode
PS4
looks
original
cool.
doesn't have any of that, and yeah, it feels like being punished for adopting early into the game a little bit. Usually I don't get bothered by stuff like that, but that just irked me for some reason. Like, just like, here's all your problems solved. Buy it again.
Definitive.
Irksome.
Okay. So any other thoughts on Square Enix? Otherwise, we'll move into Tuesday and what I think a lot of people from... Oh, wait. We should bring up the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC briefly, which was... like way up here on me. I know that Josh was talking about being the one to kind of bring this up because he loves that franchise, and unfortunately, again, we wish Josh could be here with us, but alas, other priorities. I get it. It's okay. Don't feel bad, Josh. We miss you. The biggest thing, and I think the thing that a majority of this club and this community really gravitate toward is Nintendo. Nintendo had their Direct on Tuesday morning, and what a presentation that was. Ryan, I just want to let you pick one of these things and go with it. Like, what do you want to talk about first for Nintendo?
Let's just start small real quick. I wanted to point out that Panzer Dragoon remake. I want to point this out before I forget it. And it's because I'm glad I've never played any of them. And it's mostly because I missed out on the Saturn. But I love diving back into this stuff. And I like that even though Sega really isn't kind of who they are still like keeping their IPs alive by giving away to people who want to make these games. And notably, this comes down to like Wonder Boy. We've seen it with Streets of Rage 4 coming out and Sonic Mania, where they're given to people who love these franchises and want to make the games. I couldn't find anything about Forever Entertainment, but from my understanding, they're a new developer. But like I said, I believe this is a Switch exclusive. It comes out this year. Pardon me, I forgot to write down the date when it comes out. But if we're gonna start small, I want to start with that I don't want to forget about that game. Okay. So
that's cool. I'll start with something small that I did not expect. And when it popped in, I'm like, what is happening? Like, why is this here? And so later this summer, The Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance is coming out on Netflix, which is the prequel miniseries to the 1982 movie. And when they showed up, I was just like, why is this? And what is happening? And they are doing a tactics game set in the Dark Crystal universe. And I am so on board with that. Like, that is exciting for me. Like, that's crazy. I want it. I want it very, very badly. I will be picking that up when it comes out because I love that. I love that world. I love that series. I cannot wait for the show. And now they are tying all this together. Like, we have not seen a whole lot of licensed tie-in games like this. And I realize that could mean that it's not good. But it takes a lot to really mess up an SRPG, I feel. Like, you just don't see bad SRPGs out there for the most part because they just don't happen.
Zoid's Assault. Often. I rest my case.
I will say it. Well, let me rephrase that. They don't never happen, but it is a rarity. Rare. Yeah. But I'm excited for that. I thought it looked a little bit dialed down from a graphical standpoint, but I totally get why they had to do that. But I am on board.
Yeah, it
I'm
looks
on board
pretty
with
cool. I have no familiarity with Dark Crystal, but I was really happy to see that because I know you're super into it, and just for people in general, because it's just a surprising announcement, and it's really cool to see that. And
Yeah.
a tactics RPG for that is an odd but interesting choice.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Easy,
happy with that.
easy to use that template, but still interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but it does look to me more like a like Disgaea or Final Fantasy Tactics like emulation rather than like an XCOM type of thing.
Yeah.
Which makes I don't know if that makes sense or not, but
rather than something like for like a more common reference in Nintendo, like Mario Rabbids, maybe is that more like that or more or less?
That's
like
more XCOM because
Yeah.
there's like more projectiles and stuff, and I'm not sure what kind of. We'll have to see. There's more coming on that game eventually, but let me throw to Fitnat. Let's throw to you and talk about the big game that does not have a release date yet, but I can't see how this game doesn't come out in October. And that's Luigi's Mansion 3. What'd you think of what they showed us? And you and Ryan kind of riff on this a little bit because I have not played a Mansion game to this point.
Yeah. I really like the first one. I haven't gotten into the second one yet, but I'm really happy to see this come back, and it looks super fun. The multiplayer actually is intriguing to me. It wasn't so much on the 3DS game because like I just didn't really have people to play 3DS games with. That was never really a thing that I did. But on Switch, even though we've barely played online on that system at all, it's much easier. It's an easier sell to get people to get online on that, despite the paid. But yeah, Gooigi is weird but delightful. People are going to have to get gooed.
Get
That pun in there, even though it's terrible. But yeah, I don't really have much to say there, and I should probably shut up after that pun. So Ryan, go ahead.
Sure. I've kind of become more of a fan after the second game. I really enjoyed the second game for the I guess DS, 3DS, 2DS, whatever you played it on. I enjoyed it more than the first game. Granted, the first game was a launch for the GameCube, and it was a good time. It was fairly short, but it was it was a good base. And after the second game, I'm kind of glad the series is going to go on. It's got a more of a, I guess Luigi gets invited to stay at this fancy hotel, and he wakes up and the place is full of ghosts. So and there's some new tactics in it. Like there's a plunger attack weapon where if a ghost has a shield, you can rip it away from them, and there's a tactic that you can slam other ghosts into each other and damage them. They're fun games. They're not overly strenuous, and I don't know, they're fun games. I'm very much excited for it. I hope it comes out in October, so you get to keep that spooky game feel going. But I'm excited for the game. I didn't think it was, because it was just teased in January, right? It was a more recent direct when they kind of announced it, so I didn't think it would be coming out this year, but I'm glad it is.
Yeah.
I also like that it's kind of casually a backdoor sequel to Hotel Mario.
Yeah, the setting is much bigger than like the hotel that they were showing was like immensely huge compared to the mansion itself, but
yeah, it's an interesting setting. And appropriately, Luigi's the main character, and Mario has gone missing. So hitting on a lot of old game notes that people hated. Hopefully this one's actually good.
But yeah,
I love the setting of Luigi's Mansion. I'm gonna play the hell out of it. I just wish they announced a Switch pack for the first and second game as well. That would be cool.
It could still happen, but actually it's less likely at this point. But yeah, Ryan, somebody's coming to a game that you really like.
That's right. So I should first say that the first DLC for Smash was announced, and it was, I guess, generic Dragon Quest character enter here.
It's the hero. It's the hero.
Sure, that did
I like that one.
That was the Japan, Fitnet happy release right there to keep Japan happy. I understand people take off in Japan for those games. Great. RPG fans don't play Smash Brothers. Anyways, but they announced Banjo and Kazooie for Smash Brothers, and that was one of the almost closing parts of the show. I looked into this a little bit, and I always heard this rumor, but he was always rumored to be in Smash Brothers Melee, but was removed at the last moment because of the Microsoft acquisition of Rare. And ultimately, his design went to kind of Duck Hunt Dog, how his attack design is. I guess when they announced that they were doing a fan vote, originally when the Smash Brothers Wii U was announced, the one that actually had the highest turnout vote was Banjo-Kazooie. So I'm glad that Microsoft and Nintendo got some kind of handshake deal going where you can get a Microsoft representative in it. And I loved it. It looked fantastic. I believe it's Spiral Mountain was the theme that played in the background by I'm drawing a blank on his name, Grant Kirkhope. That he actually got to do the music too. So I'm very happy with Banjo in the game. I'm a little disappointed that there was only 2 characters revealed here. I understand these things take time. I was hoping that all the rest of the season 1 pass would be announced. But hey, I'm happy Banjo's in it. That made me very happy. They did kind of a reveal, which was very much like last year's reveal for King K. Rool, that it was Donkey Kong. And it's kind of happy that the people that worked on the Donkey Kong games, and here comes, it was Rare, and the people, it was kind of like them being happy that an old franchise is coming back. It was a great trailer. I was very happy with it. So I cannot wait to play Banjo in Smash Brothers.
That's awesome.
I liked the trailer too, and I liked the troll in it. That was delightful.
Yeah,
Just the way they set that up. I'm not going to spoil it for people if they haven't seen it, because it's just delightful, and I don't want to dig into it. But
yeah, you should definitely go check that one out.
A really good bait and switch. I'll just say that much.
For sure. So we have a couple more games that we want to talk about from the Nintendo presentation. One of them being the remake of Link's Awakening, which is coming sooner than let's see, what was the date on that? September 20th. That is coming out in a super busy Nintendo stretch here, but they showed us more of that. They alluded to there being the color dungeon exists. I caught some of this on the Treehouse, but the color dungeon still exists. So if you had the DX version of Link's Awakening, you may know that specific dungeon. Then there is another dungeon that has that's where the sort of dungeon maker thing showed up. So it seems like they may have the roots of what could be down the road a Zelda dungeon maker for like 2D Zeldas, which would be really, really cool. But Ryan, what did you think of the Link's Awakening information that we got? And are you prioritizing this at all?
Oh yeah, it's definitely on my radar. I'm definitely gonna be picking it up as a Zelda fan. I played Link's Awakening for CC Portable last season, and it's really good. I look forward to the slight changes they made, because it mostly is to deal with the controls. I didn't have too much trouble with the controls, but it looks like it's just gonna be a little bit a much smoother update for the game. So I am excited to play it again and take another look.
For sure. And then Fitnat, anything for you on Link's Awakening, or should we talk about how they closed their show?
We can go into that, but just shortly on that, I like the look of it. It's interesting. I've never played Link's Awakening before, so this might be the first way I get into it. But I think it looks good, and I'm happy that people are happy about it. So go on.
Okay, very good. So then, Ryan, why don't you sort of set up what came at the end? Because they had just shown the Banjo thing, and then they still dropped one more thing.
Yeah, and then they I'm glad they do that, because you always kind of need that one more thing at the end of a direct to make it feel the cherry on the sundae, if you will, the top of the sundae. And it started off, with I got immediate vibes. I saw the cell shading. I'm like, this kind of looks like Breath of the Wild. And for a while, even though like the last couple previous directs, like I've been hoping that there would be a Majora's Mask style Zelda game in vein of Breath of the Wild. And by that, you have this world already built. Don't spend another 7 to 8 years making a Zelda game. Just use your assets and make a different story. I love Breath of the Wild. My only complaints with Breath of the Wild is I wish there was temples in it, and I wish there was maybe like a human form of Ganon, and I wish there was better like horse riding. Other than that, the game is fantastic. It's like on the verge of being the perfect Zelda game, and I hope the slight tweaks well, like I said, back to this, when they pull back and you start seeing more of it and you see it's Zelda, I start getting excited that this is the game I've been hoping for the last couple directs. And I'm glad they actually delivered on it. Now, they didn't show much, but what they did show, I got very much Twilight Princess vibes from it. And I heard they said it's even going to be darker than Majora's Mask. I always felt that Twilight Princess was very dark. And some of even the green smoke airs, that like the markings resemble a lot of stuff that is on the character Minda's arms. So I got the feel that it is kind of be in that same kind of vein. It felt very much like Twilight Princess to me. One thing I wanted to point out, that you see a corpse that Link and Zelda are in a cave, and they see a corpse, and it comes to life. A couple things that stood out to me is that it had a jewel in its head, and when the life got brought into its body, the hair turned to red, which makes me think that maybe that is Ganon's body. Because in Breath of the Wild, if you have played it, it's kind of a spirit form. It's Calamity Ganon. We never get to see Ganon. Normally we do. We get to see him in like human form before it becomes like some sort of demon. I am like, I love the fact that this could potentially be bringing Ganon back to life in like his human form. So my thoughts is it just, all it said is it's in its development. My guess is that it will be Nintendo's release for when the next gen consoles release, because we had a teaser at the Xbox presser for holidays 2020. If it comes out that
when you
point,
say next gen, you're not talking Switch 2. You're talking about the new hardware, like the next edition of the Switch.
yeah. No, I'm talking about the next gen consoles, like your whatever Xbox, PlayStation 5. I imagine this is going to be their counter swing to that. But I wouldn't say it's already been over 2 years. I wouldn't say that they could use this as also, as in vain that how they launched the Switch. I could see this being like, it'll play on your regular Switch, but we got this new Super Switch.
Super Switch.
It's gonna look better on the Super Switch, and like to line it up again. You can't deny that Breath of the Wild did not help sell some Switches. It most definitely did launching with it.
It sold more copies than the Switch did in the first couple months.
Oh yeah. So I have a feeling it's just a theory, a game theory, but I have a feeling that it's going to launch right along the point of the next consoles and whatever. I just a theory of maybe a new Switch is a theory. It's just a theory. So
sure, yeah. I can see that. I got some big time Eternal Darkness vibes at the beginning, because there was almost like tentacly looking things, and I was totally thinking I was like, this would be a reach that will hit, and like really there would be sections of that fan base that are like, oh, that's awesome. That's exactly what we wanted to see. But alas, I guess we're just gonna get another Zelda game. I'm just kidding. Like, I'm happy. It was a great way to finish that presser, right? That presser had so much, and there's some stuff that we didn't mention that I think we should give some, even just throughout the show, that maybe we didn't hit on that much. I think we should talk about Collection of Mana for a second. Fitnat, do you want to talk about? You had a comment on that, or?
Yeah, not much to say on it, like, because I'm not like really a huge Mana fan, not because I'm not interested, because I just haven't played that much. I've only played like a section of Secret of Mana, and I enjoyed it. But it's super cool to see all these games coming out, and especially with Trials of Mana, which I didn't even realize what that was for quite a while after, because I had never seen the title in English because it never had one. So it's Secret of Mana 2 or Seiken Densetsu 3. That's coming out in English for the first time ever officially, and it came out that day. So that was a hell of a shadow drop.
Yeah.
Also, there's a limited run physical edition, not from limited run games, but like a limited print physical edition coming in August. So go pre-order that if you're interested. I have no idea where it's sold, but look into that because Mana fans don't want to miss that. But the Trials of Mana Seiken Densetsu 3 remake, that looks really good, actually.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. I have no idea what that game's about, and I know I heard people were saying that it's entirely different than Mana.
Yeah, it's like something like 6 different playable characters, and they have their own like intros and something. I have no idea how they intersect, but I'm interested.
Yeah,
but people really like that game.
Mm-hmm. And I know there are members of the community who are like have been asking for this for a long time. Like next to Mother 3, like this is one of like the biggest asks that people have had of the like Super Nintendo era.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say this is like if they shadow dropped Mother 3, except it's not a meme.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. I want to mention a couple other things that are also coming to Switch. They did show Witcher 3, so that there was a rumor going around that Witcher 3 was coming. It is coming. It is on one cart. There is no download required at all. It entirely plays. It has everything off that 32 gig cart, which is awesome that they're able to manage that. Astral Chain's the other one. That is the Platinum game that's coming out. And there are some big time near Automata combat vibes that I'm getting from that. Makes sense. It's Platinum. It may even be the same team from Near Automata, but that looks really, really. It looks really cool. It just wasn't like again. It's either far enough out or it's got so many questions still that I don't know that I'm entirely on board just yet.
I wanted to point out today that if you guys aren't aware, but Nintendo's had this kind of like handshake deal with Best Buy for the last I can't maybe want to say the last 5 E3s. That anytime Nintendo has something at E3, it's usually shown at a few Best Buys in your store area, at least in the States. And this time they were showing Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which comes out this summer. Ultimate Alliance 3, I should say. It's made by Team Ninja, I believe, this time. And I actually got to play it today. I ran out and I got to actually sample it. They gave me a little keychain here to sample it and see it. But yeah, so I know it's going to drive Dean nuts that he doesn't have one of these. Anyways, yeah, if you're a fan of the Ultimate Alliance series, I can tell you it plays very much so like the original games, maybe even a little bit better. I would like to see it a little bit more polished. It looks very much kind of like a last-gen game, but the gameplay was fun. So if you are very much a fan of the Ultimate Alliance series, I can tell you it is a lot of fun. I put down the $5 to pre-order it because I am a big fan of the series. I'm glad it's returning, even if it's an exclusive on the Switch. To me, it's in my wheelhouse.
Very good. And then, Fitnat, any other honorable mentions or things that you wanted to bring up that we missed out on or just wanted to give special acknowledgement to?
Not that I can really recall. I just general shout out for like all the RPGs getting revivals and everything. Like there were a lot of different obscure ones we didn't mention, and I'm just happy that a lot of people are getting the games that they've been asking for or wanting, and just other people for new games for them to try. So that's always nice to see, even though like some of the titles like Romancing Saga 3 aren't as recognizable. That's just always fun.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Just a general overview on that.
Awesome. Well, the last little mention I want to do before we move on to the last two CC Prime game reveals is Elder Ring, which is the FromSoft and George R.R. Martin game that got mentioned during the Xbox press conference, and we didn't bring it up, but it is real. He is consulting with it, and it promises to be more Souls, and I think everyone who's into those kind of games is probably going to be way on board with that. Oh, and yes, Animal Crossing also. They admitted to pushing back the release date on that because they wanted to make sure that the game was absolutely correct. And they didn't want to. I read today that they specifically did it also so that they don't have to crunch their workers. New Horizons is the subtitle for that. Yeah. So I've never played an Animal Crossing game. It does not scratch an itch for me, but I'm happy for those who are finally going to get that. And it sounds like the Switch is going to be a great platform for it. Yeah. Any other last thoughts, guys, on E3 stuff, or we can kind of roll into kind of our last little bit, and then we'll pretty much be done for the night.
I have a quick question. Is
Yes.
Musty Hobbit not going to mention the Lord of the Rings living card game?
I'm not actually. Like
I just
I
had to get that in there.
fair to call me on it, yes. But I don't do card games that much. But it's gonna be on Game Pass, so I could do it for free and give it a try at least. It's at least a franchise that I can get behind. Whereas some of these other ones, it's like, how much lore do I need to learn to feel comfortable in a card game? But yes,
You only need so much lore for the rings.
Lore for the rings. That's right. There is that actually got revealed at one of the like Nindy directs a few months ago. But the fact that it's on Game Pass is certainly a perk that I'm okay with. So yeah, cool. Let's move on. We've announced so far. Let me reiterate for people. We have announced StarCraft is going to be September. In October, we are going to be playing Dracula's Curse, Castlevania 3 for the NES. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is going to be November, and December is going to be Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. And so following an RPG, we kind of like to give people a month to kind of recoup. And so we wanted to pick something that was a little more playful and maybe like a game that wasn't going to take up their entire month. So to start off 2020, we're going to be playing on the Sega Genesis, Castle of Illusion. Mickey Mouse, Castle of Illusion. And this is available, I think, on a majority of your compilations, I think. And then
it's on like the PS4 collection, like the most recent.
It's on the newest one as well. And then I think it's going to be on the mini. Okay, let's turn that off.
Yeah, don't want to get a strike from Disney.
Oh, it's fine. I was talking enough that they'll probably miss it.
It's also
they never miss it.
Yes, but yeah, you never know. They may be coming out for blood. And so let's talk about February. And if that were the case. Oh no, not an ad! Come on, YouTube, killing me.
You suck, YouTube.
Yay, Jeep ad. That's not what I wanted. So you're killing my segue, YouTube ad. So if Disney were to come out for blood, yeah, if they were to come out for blood, we decided for February. This last February, we played Catherine, and Catherine was a far gorier game than I think a lot of us expected. So we are going to be playing a game that has equal amounts of gore this February. We are playing a PlayStation 4 exclusive. We're playing Bloodborne. And I'm nervous, but I think it's perfect. Like it fits the theme, and I think this could be a really good time. So yes, we're gonna play Bloodborne February. I hope people are excited that. I hope people are.
Isn't that gonna excite P2 as well?
Oh, I'm sure it will. Like hopefully he's in on that. But yes, it looks like I'm seeing some people that are pretty happy, and I know that's a game that I can't wait to stream and see. And then we do have, obviously our seasons are not only 6 episodes long. We do have more games coming. We will be revealing a bulk of those at the CC Awards, which we'll be doing in January, as we've done for the past 2 years. But I wanted to talk quickly about a new initiative that we're looking at for CC Prime. And you may have seen there's a hashtag that Ryan and I and the club account have been using more frequently. That's hashtag play along with Prime. Obviously, the intention here is we're trying to encourage you to play the game of the month with us. Now, we realize that sometimes the game we pick is one that you've already played, or sometimes it's a game that you are not interested in, and that's totally fine. We also know that there's a ton of people in this club who are avid collectors and may have games that down the road, maybe they'll get to eventually, but they just aren't in the right spot to play it right now. So what I want to encourage people to do is to use that hashtag, play along with Prime, as a method of getting awareness out there. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep track of the uses of that hashtag. And you can use it. We will give you up to one. Well, let me explain what the plan is here. One time a month, if you use the hashtag, we will give you a credit. We have a little tracker that we're keeping track of here. At the CC Awards, we will do a drawing of all of those people who've used it, and we will allow them to pick March's game and be on the show. And so in January, I realize that's a quick turnaround, but as part of us announcing then April through the end of the year, So obviously the incentive is for you to utilize the hashtag and get your credit, but it's really an awareness thing. If you've noticed, we've all kind of been hinting at something tonight in one way or another. But yeah, we will let you pick the game as long as it's, don't request Magical Chase for the TurboGrafx 16, please. Like
within reason.
Yeah, I mean, let's within reason. Obviously, if someone has we'll work with you on picking the game. But this is something we want to try and do as a way to let the community also kind of help direct the game of the month. But at the same time, we want to obviously give acknowledgement to the people who help get the word out. And so that's what we're looking at. Oh, Drake and the 99 Dragons. Please no. Please no. Ryan, did you have comments on that, or did you want to
I just want to say that we would like you guys to make sure there's a picture involved, whether it be your title screen of the game or just even like Musty's got the picture of the game behind him. If you can somehow incorporate the picture with the hashtag play along with Prime, we greatly appreciate it. It helps spread the word of the game of the month. And, it's a new initiative. Like I said, by doing that, we'll put your name in a poll list, basically, to be, once a month. If you do it, your name will be entered in for this raffle that we will draw. And like I said, it's a game of choice, and you'll be on the show. So,
and I'll try to write up some general instructions. Maybe we'll add this to the forums or something, because it is a big change, and not everyone is here right now, or not everyone is necessarily watching this coverage here. But I will say that to those of you who've already been using this throughout the year, those count. So the previous months, if you've used the hashtag play along with Prime, in any month where you have used that, we've given you credit. So for some of you, you already have a few what will be entries into this raffle. There will be no going back in time there, because edit functions don't exist on Twitter. But yeah, and we're open to other ideas too. So, but really, again, it's about getting the word out about the show and letting people know that, hey, this is a thing that this collective group is all is interested in playing this month, or let's talk about it. The more we can drive that, the better that I think the show will be, and everything else. So I think that's going to do it for us. Ryan, did you have anything else you wanted to include here? Am I missing anything?
No, but I just want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch the show tonight. And yeah, we have more, I guess, stuff planned, and I hope, I think it was a very good E3. It was a very good E3, and yeah, it's, hope people find something they truly enjoyed with the show. Even if there's one or two things, I hope everyone can at least find one or two things that you could be excited for games coming out in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Fitnat, I want to thank you for being here and being a part of this. Hope that you had as good a time as we did. But do you want to plug your social medias or tell people where they can find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, that'll be good to plug my 2 or 3 tweets for the week. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Fitnat, FITGNIT. Yeah, that's correct. I don't know why I flubbed that up in my brain. Anyway, I don't really tweet, but I do put out reminders and links for the Cartridge Club Hangouts, which I host on Tuesdays around 6 p.m. Pacific time usually. So that's free for anyone in the club to join. I posted links to join on Discord though, because we've had problems going through Twitter.
Yeah, and you're most active on the Discord, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah. Check out the Discord. Check out the forums too. It's a good time. Ryan, what about you? Internet.
Twitter and Instagram, same hashtag or same name. It's Rocket Sauce. You can find me on there. Occasionally streaming on Twitch when available. I'm working on that. I'm not as refined as Musty, but I'm working on it. So yeah, check me out there.
Very good. Yeah, and again, you can find me on Twitter at Musty Hobbit, and more prominently, that's my social media of choice. But as far as other content stuff, Twitch is the place that I've been for the past couple months, and I am loving every minute of it. And clearly, I've been adding all kinds of stuff to my presentation as a result. But yeah, you check me there at Musty Hobbit also. Again, we are playing Uncharted 2 as our game of the month for the remainder of June, and then we are playing Arkham City. Batman Arkham City, which is available on Game Pass if you have Xbox Game Pass. Get Xbox Game Pass. You should do it. Anyways, thank you all for hanging out. I hope you had a great E3. I hope that you enjoyed our little summary here, and we will see you all real soon. Have yourself a great evening, and CC Unite.